The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Welcome to Cape Breton Connects on Eastlink Community TV. I'm your host, Cecil Clark, and I'm so pleased today to be with Marco Amati, the General Manager of the Loaves and Fishes Community Kitchen here in the heart of Sydney on George Street. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you for having me.
You do such important work in our community and for our community, and it's all about making sure that need is met, and that need is to ensure proper nourishment and nutrition. You've been doing it, I believe now for 14 years.
Yes.
But the organization has been 43 years in the community. Can you explain some of the history and how Loaves and Fishes came to be?
Well, 43 years ago, they started out as a 6-month project. And here we are 43 years later. It started out with all the churches getting together, and they used to feed the people. And now they wanted a central location, so that's what they did. They brought this board together, the board of directors, and they brought it to fruition. And here we are feeding people. We feed almost about 150 a day, 7 days a week.
And that's a lunch program you provide
Yes,
here.
from 10 to 12 every day.
So that's a lot of meal prep, that's a lot of logistics back of house. I think before we're getting started, you had to be here for the food delivery truck and transportations. So it's a lot of work for one person, but I'm sure you rely on a lot of volunteers behind the scenes as well.
Yes, we couldn't survive without volunteers. Myself and the cook couldn't run this place. I mean, we deal with 40 volunteers a week and almost up to 50. So without them, this place wouldn't run.
And those are people that just care and want to give. They don't come, there's no judgment, there's no stigma. It's just they're here because other citizens are in need of nourishment.
That's right. It's all from their heart. They come in and they love what they do here. They love feeding people. And they also love to talk to them and see what's going on in the day. So
you clearly love what you do as well, but part of what you have to do is a lot of paperwork, because I'm noticing and noted lots of improvements to the facility here. And from transferring back, we had talked about prior to filming, from the federal government transferring to the municipalities so that you can be in ownership and be able to apply for other things.
yes.
And so explain just in terms of some of the things you've done, because you've been able to do energy efficiency upgrades that are wide ranging to make basically cost savings.
Yes.
So that the money can stay to make sure your programming is the top priority.
Yes, you're right. Talking about, we have 5 heat pumps in there. That's all through grants. We have a generator, which we needed badly because we lost our electricity for about a week and we couldn't go through without having a freezer. So we have that through a grant. Same thing with solar panels. It all makes sense to us because we have to cut our costs. Food prices are going insane, so we have to go out there and buy that food. We get a lot of donations from the Cape Breton community and businesses, which we really appreciate, but still we have to buy that food to feed people, and everything is done from scratch here. So, and you look at our car, that's all fully electric car. So everything ties in to saving that buck.
And when you look at it, even with the vehicle, it's amazing to see that a community kitchen would be ahead of the time, so to speak, to say by having an electric vehicle, because there's lots of logistics. You've got to go around to a lot of places to make sure you can operate, but to do it on a 100% electric vehicle, those are, I sort of say cutting edge, that people are recognizing. You have a great team in place, you say volunteers. But the other piece with this, of course, to govern, you have a board of directors.
Yes.
I mean, that's another dedicated group that are out there and probably help with the fundraising, I assume, as well.
Yes, yeah. So we have a board of directors of 10 people right now. We can up to 13 if we want, but they're very dedicated. There's some here that's been here for 20 years. So they're always dedicated. They love what we do here. And a couple of them are the founding fathers of it. So like Father McPhee is one of them, and he's been here, I don't know how many, probably the full 43 years. And I shouldn't say his age, he doesn't want me to say that anymore. But I mean, he's been here since the beginning. And he loves what's happening here and how we're kind of keep going.
And well, it's a labor of love for people you love and care about in your community.
Yes. Yeah.
So on a personal level, like, you must find and you forge a bond with certain people that come in, clients that on a regular basis are here.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than just sometimes the aspect of affordability for food. It's for the aspect of a human connection. People are coming not because about money, but that connection with other people. I think you've witnessed that yourself.
True. Yeah, we have seniors come in here. I mean, they live alone, so they come here and they get a meal and they visit their friends and all that stuff, right? So, but other than that, I mean, we don't register anybody in here. We're not a food bank, so we're a kitchen, community kitchen. We feed people, and they come in honestly. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're hungry, we'll feed you. And that's one thing I like about this place. They open up to us, we talk to them, but it's very discreet and not judgmental here or anything.
And I'm sure over the course of time, the people that come in, they're coming for a meal, but probably you have to do a lot of navigating to other services or supports for individuals that may not know where to go, and they're sitting there and they're looking for that caring shoulder to talk, person to talk to, a shoulder to lean on.
Yes.
You must find the volunteers are all part of that support network to help guide some of the clients that come through.
They are. We do extra stuff too. Like we had people come in to cut hair, so we got clients to get haircuts. We also had nurses from the Nova Scotia Community College and second year, and also from CBU come in and they did feet work and they gave blood pressure clinics. Same thing if during flu season, we'll have one of their trucks out here and they give flu shots to, and during COVID was a big thing. We had COVID shots out here too. So we do extra things like that. We also give clothing out here if we see somebody, which is a hard thing to see when you see a lot of kids come in and they don't have any, like no shoes on their feet or they need a winter coat or something. We have that here and we can help them out.
Right, and this is almost like for yourself, it's a calling. You've been at this for 14 years.
14
this is
years.
no easy job to try and be the general manager of something that requires that year-round commitment
Yes.
and that focus. So on a personal level, what drives you for that? Like you've got to have that passion, I guess, to want to serve.
Well, when I started here, I didn't know what I was getting into. But when I came here, your heart is full. I mean, you see things and you try to help the best you can. And that's what I like doing. I like helping people. I like, you know, if it's just to talk to people or if they enjoy their meal or whatever, at least they're satisfied when they leave here. And my heart is full of whenever I do that. My wife even says when I get home, he said, "Why are you always happy?" I said, "Well, you know, I help people today." And that's the main thing, right?
That's right. And people do as they're able and they give as they're able and serve as they're able to those that have a need in their community, and that need can change.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen clients that have been here in the past that can come back as a volunteer or someone that you see has been able to?
All the time.
Isn't that a great reward?
Yes, and they said, "You help me out, I'm here to help you guys out." And they come in, and we have people now, there's like 10 that used to eat here, and they want to give back to their community.
So in terms of over 100 meals a day, what was your peak of number of meals you'd be serving in the last little while?
Well, back in the COVID days, we never closed, that's the main thing, but we served takeout through a takeout, so we had to close the dining room. But we were peaking 250 meals a day. So that's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're never closed. We could have the biggest snowstorm. We're still open to feed people.
Yep. And I know that the province has worked with the municipality. We're looking at, for those on income assistance or limited income, to get a universal year-round bus pass so that people can connect, because there's probably some folks that haven't been able to access that this will be something there. And I know it puts a pressure, but it also is a call to service for all of us.
That's true. And that's going to be one thing that's going to be awesome for people, because there's people that are hungry, but they can't get the meal that they can. And hopefully that's going to help people come in. And, you know, we encourage anybody who's hungry to come in.
Yep. Well, Marco, sincere thanks and appreciation for everything you, your team, the board, and volunteers do to make sure that our community is providing for those in need, and also doing it in a way that is lifting people up and helping them out.
Thank you so much, Cecil. Thank you for having me.
This episode of Cape Breton Connects has a special meaning to me and for me, as Sister Rooney is someone with such a direct impact on my family, my father, and myself growing up. To grow up in Sydney Mines and to be able to have had the life privilege of being with Sister Rooney, to talk about her stick-to-itness, as she would say to me, if you want to get things done, the kindness she extended to my father as one of her first mad potters. This is a story that resonates, and how important Sister Catherine Rooney was to me. She was Mother St. Philip, and my middle name is Philip, and I was named after Sister Rooney. So that personal connection, and when I hear the stories about the Mad Potter, when I hear about Sister Rooney's impact on people's lives, and more importantly on a form of art and artistry, and what her passion was to provide skills to individuals, it's a very special time for me to share this story with you, and I hope you'll enjoy it.
She did a lot for people didn't know about. She turned the little garage into a potter's shop. And she had a potter's wheel in the common, the big sun porch, the long big sun porch. She had one in there. And that's where she started. And she'd make stuff out of clay. Never ever bought a mold. Made all her own molds. See the stuff she'd make with her hands, buddy. She'd make that fiddler. So I seen it, she had a picture of it, the fiddler. And then she made the fiddler out of clay. And the rest, she was just watching the picture. Now, she wouldn't make it one day or anything, don't get me wrong. She'd have it there, and then I'd be into the clay, and she'd be doing it. Everything done by hand. Then she'd make her own mold, or
I'm very pleased to have you with me in my hometown of Sydney Mines at what was the train station here, now the Sydney Mines Heritage Centre, adjacent to the Cape Breton Fossil Centre, and really a hub of culture and learning in the community and the geology. And I'm joined right now by Megan Jeffries, collections archivist here at the museum. Welcome, Megan, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So there's some pretty impressive displays around the entire museum here, but one that's really special, and that's about Sister Rooney and the Mad Potters. You were able to curate a display that the viewers will be seeing. Can you explain, as an archivist, how you brought all that together? It's not a small task to do.
Oh no, absolutely not. So when it was to come together, I was informed that this was happening on Tuesday, and my first instinct was to panic, and then my second instinct was to bring as much color as I can to our display. So the Mad Potters, they always use this dark glaze over their works, but there's so much of it. But we actually are lucky to have some donations on loan from Jerry Costello, such as the fiddler, the tartan lady, as well as the fireman. So we wanted to bring those forth, and we're actually very lucky to have two molds. So we have the stove as well as the coal jar.
So Megan, through your research, can you tell us what you learned about the Mad Potters?
So the Mad Potters were formed under Sister Catherine Rooney in 1970 in the Notre Dame Convent's basement. So the small room that they worked in, the miners actually referred to as the pit because the ceiling was just so low it was akin to Princess Colliery. And a couple years later, they actually moved shop into the old Princess Pay House. So that was at Princess Colliery, and that's where they started to run their business from. They used to go down to Peck's Point in Sydney Mines, where they would go and they would search for the clay that was often found there. And they would actually transport it on an old school bus back to the convent. And they used what was converted from old lobster pot holders to create their wheels. So they would do their pottery there. And Sister Rooney, she was actually very particular. She wanted to make sure that they were not settling for less, that they were settling for the best quality possible. So the miners, they would watch her smash something, but they learned soon that she wasn't doing this out of malice. She was actually doing this to help them improve, to not commercialize, but to come and realize that they should always put their best forward. We actually, on the wall to my adjacent side, is Cape Breton working men. There are actually only 100 of those in existence, and we are lucky to have number 83. I learned through my research as well that under some of the pottery, if you see a red clay base, that means it's actually one of the older models, as compared to now where most of them will have either a felt or a black glaze under it.
So it's really, again, just that opportunity for you to learn and understand. And I found it interesting that when they moved again to what we know as was Pond Street in town, which then became Pitt Street, I do believe, as a rename, but that they were actually going through the Cape Breton Miners Museum to sell as well. So it was about, that there was a market. And even at the time, selling items for around $30, I think some of the history would have, some of the stats would be at $30 a piece. It was still a great deal for the amount of work and the time that went into it. It was only a small fraction. So it's probably today worth more than $30 a piece.
I believe my boss has calculated to be over $200 that the $30 is worth.
So this is not just something you've learned as a summer student or working with the Heritage Society, like you've gone to university and college. Can you explain your interest in this history and how it brings these artifacts to life for you?
So I was actually born in Cape Breton in Sydney Mines actually, and then I spent 2 years working at the Beaton Institute at Cape Breton University, where it really curated my interest in the history. So I worked with old manuscripts and then community projects, and then I was very lucky to be taken on as the collections archivist for 2 summers in a row, where I get to give life to my hometown.
Well, and give life it is. And when people come in, they just get to see, not just look at it, but you can actually touch things here as well and get a sense of real connection to that heritage and the history of the community. And in so doing, do you get a sense as well, given your archivist background and with collections, does it give you also a sense of the person of Sister Rooney that was behind the process for the pottery and the Mad Potters themselves?
Yes, actually, last year I had one of the former Mad Potters come, and he was a sweet old man, and we communicated by writing since he was deaf. And he told me how much of a saint she was, and he was just so kind, and so many old coal miners will come in and they will praise. So while I also give tours here, I feel as if I'm the one getting the tour most of the time, because when the old residents and the miners come in, they are giving me this background and stuff that I wouldn't know since I wasn't born back then.
So it's a gift, it's shared. So you're providing them the expertise that you've gained and how to put a collection together, and they give you basically the living history of what all these artifacts and displays, in the case of Sister Rooney and the Mad Potters, the pottery itself, just knowing that it doesn't exist anymore, and anyone with a piece of it is a rare thing, and it is a special thing. I know many homes would have that. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a piece or two as well, and you cherish it because you know that it is linked to something as a point in time in the life of the community of Sydney Mines, but also the work of a visionary that saw that we needed to diversify economic opportunity beyond just the mining heritage of the community. So it must give you a real sense of the life of the community of Sydney Mines, and not only the people, but some of the characters. So I'm sure there's been some good stories.
Oh yes, I come from a very long line of interesting people. So my grandfather actually, he used to shovel the coal on the trains, but when he was young, he actually lost both of his legs by getting them run over by a train. But that never stopped him from just being such an active grandfather and an active father. My mom actually tells me when he sat down for the very first time at my grandmother's house, she, in her little self she walked right up to him, sat on him, and that's how my Nan knew that that was the man she was going to marry.
Well, see, these are all part of the living legacies of a town and the lessons of history that give us a sense of the clarity for today. And really it is about path to the future, that we build on that heritage, we build on the geology, and looking forward to having discussion about how the history of clay relates to the fossil center as well. So thanks so much, Megan, for joining us on Cape Breton Connects.
Thank you for having me.
Joining me now is Dr. Jason Loxton, curator of the Cape Breton Fossil Center. Welcome, Doctor.
Welcome, thanks for having me.
So we've got the Sydney Mines Heritage Center, the museum, as people know, is the old train station, which is really a treasure trove of history of the community.
It is amazing.
Mining heritage, but also the community's heritage. And today, as we talk about the legacy of the Mad Potters and of Sister Rooney, the connection of the clay to the earth, and how it actually has a relevant connection to the fossil center itself. So can you connect the dots for our viewers?
Yeah, you would think that would not be an obvious connection, but it is. So the connection between the coal history and the symbolism of the Mad Potters, that should be pretty obvious, and the geological aspect of the actual coal in the ground. Most people get that part. The clay is a little bit more of a stretch, but clay is of course a geological material as well. And weirdly, clay has not always existed in any abundance on Earth. So if you go back in time to the oldest fossils we have in Cape Breton, maybe 1% of a deposit by a river would have been clay. By the time we get to the time when all of the coal is being laid down, we're up at like 25, 26%. So how did that happen? Well, clay is the product of the chemical breakdown of minerals you find in rocks like granite. And for them to break down, they need to be associated with acids and kept wet. And once the plants evolved, the same plants that made all of that coal, once they've evolved, suddenly all of their organic matter is building up in the soil and is keeping the soil wetter. Think about if you're a gardener and you have just, you try to just get soil that's just sand, nothing's growing in there. You need some organic, some peat in there. Well, literally peat is what we're compressing to make the coal. So once we've got some of that in the soil, that's keeping things moister, it's keeping those reactions going longer, and at the same time, the plants are holding all the mud in place on places like floodplains. And so weirdly, it wasn't until plants evolved on Earth that we actually started building up the resources that allowed the Mad Potters to do their mad potting.
So it was destined to be that in this coal mining town and as an industry, but also the prehistory of the town and how geology forged and formed what could be the potter's clay. And I note anyone that's familiar with Sydney Mines, Peck's Point is right next to the cliffs where some of the best fossil finds are. So
100%.
And for Sister Rooney to be able to reach in and take advantage of that resource and help really men to get another trade beyond and looking at employment and selling and marketing. She always talked about her phrase to me used to be, what kept her going was you had to have stick-to-itness. Yeah. And the stick-to-itness was realize opportunities, move forward. And that's part of what you do as well as a community and a regional museum and fossil center is you have to stay the course. You rely on volunteers, summer students. It can't be an easy task for you from an academic point of view, Doctor, but it must be very rewarding at the same time.
From an academic point of view, it's amazing. I mean, there is no place literally in the world better to study these kinds of monumental events in Earth history than good old Cape Breton Island. And the physical firmament we stand on has been providing these resources, scientific, cultural material, since people have been here, going back to the Mi'kmaq. But yeah, you're right. Any small museum, we really struggle financially. We all do, but it's still a joy at the same time, because every time you see someone walk through, and they may have come to see the heritage side, and then we come over and we get to tell them the surprising story, but it's just as fun or more fun to flip it around and have someone who came here to see a fossil and to go, well, hey, you know how that fossil came out of the ground? It came out of that ground because of 150 years of hard men working in a hard job underground.
So it's not just observing, people get to come and to learn and to connect again with the environment and also with history of a community. So to you and the entire team, I thank you for your efforts.
Well, thanks so much.
And joining us on Cape Breton Connects today, Doctor.
And thanks for helping to get the word out.